catch. Hey.
That is my cousin Ed.
Hi, Ed.
Hey. Murph?
Say hi to Mr. Moreau.
thank you all for coming to our Brick Township Annual Parade and Memorial Service. The VFW, Post 8867, the American Legion Post 348, have worked hard with the Township Recreation Department, Public Works, Police Department. Without their hard work and going beyond the call of duty, this would not be a success that it is. We are forever grateful. Memorial Day, or Decoration Day, was first observed on May 30th, 1868 by General James Garfield, gave a speech at Arlington National Cemetery, and had approximately 5,000 volunteers place the flowers on all 20,000 soldiers' graves to honor our war dead. Uncover, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. My pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Wendy Gordy will now sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Beautiful, Wendy, thank you. Uncover, American Legion, Department of New Jersey Chaplain, Reverend Robert Horn, will give the invocation.
Dear Lord God, the perils of war bring sorrows and grief. Even in peacetime, death may come. Long life of those dedicated to serve our country who die of natural causes. Allow not our sorrows to be contained. We gather today and remember those who paid the ultimate price for our freedom. The price of freedom is not free, and war does not cease. All who have paid their lives from one of many devilish ways that man has contrived to maim or kill his fellow man, by bombs, by bullet shells, by mines, fire, water, starvation, torture, or disease. Many rest here in the graves around the world, and others lie deep on the ocean's floor. With humble hearts, we pay our respect to our departed comrades. We recall their accomplishments and promise to keep the peace that we have no end. Remember our Gold Star families and those who have lost now are left behind. Let us comfort them with compassion and caring. In this day, for those still serve, keep them safe and vigilant. Lord, bless the Air Force, the Army, the Coast Guard, Marines, Merchant Marines, and the Navy. Bless them all. And God, will pray, we ask that you bless Bricktown and the United States of America. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Horn. It gives me great pleasure to introduce you a good friend of us veterans, the Honorable Mayor, John G. Ducey.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out. I'm glad we did not have rain this year, and very, very big crowd out there when you turn that corner by the 7-Eleven to see all those smiling faces on both sides of the street this year, which is very impressive. So thank you all to Brick Township. We are here this morning, and thank you for everybody for taking time out of your busy lives to remember those who gave their lives for our freedom, and that's what today is all about. I also want to mention for veterans, we have a VA clinic here in Brick Township that's not large enough for our veterans population here in Ocean County. There's a spot here in Brick that we're hopeful that the federal government accepts in order to build an 80,000 square foot facility. The one they have now is about 25,000, and also to have 480 parking spots. The area in town is right across from the hospital, which is the triangle piece of Burrsville, Route 88, and Jack Martin. And it's perfect because it is near our Ocean Medical Center. It's also not in a flood zone. It has enough room to have such a big facility. And a lot of people have asked me, they said, don't you think it's better to have ratables there? And I say definitely not. Our veterans are worth more than any ratables. So if everybody in our town could get behind supporting this idea of having the VA clinic move to that spot, it would be very helpful. And the people are really Senator Booker, Senator Menendez, and Congressman MacArthur, because they are our federal representatives. So if anybody could reach out to them by way of email, that would help our veterans community greatly, because the facility they have now is definitely too small. If you ever go there, you can't park anywhere near it. It doesn't have all the facilities and all the amenities that's needed. This year, the world is continuing its commemorations of the centennial of World War I. It was a war unprecedented up until then, and it's a war that dramatically changed the face of the world. It ended empires, created a new birth of freedom and independence for many of Europe's peoples, and tragically planted the seeds for an even more catastrophic war, World War II. Without neglecting or overlooking the sacrifices of our veterans and hallowed dead from other wars, today I'm going to share with you the story of one group of Americans who left their homes to answer the call of service 100 years ago. In the spring of 1918, America was mobilizing its industry, its resources, and above all, its men and women to participate in the colossal global struggle which had finally sucked our nation into it. Every day, thousands of young men and some older men were boarding ships headed for the battlefields of France. Among them, nearly 100 years ago, were the men of the 316th Infantry Regiment. The 316th was formed at Camp Meade, Maryland, at the end of August 1917. The regiment was part of the 158th Brigade of the 79th Division. The regiment was composed primarily of men from Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Ohio, and Connecticut. Over the next 10 months, they trained on how to be soldiers, and on July 7th, 1918, they left Camp Meade on trains for Jersey City, and from Jersey City, they took ferry boats to the Hamburg American Line terminal at Hoboken. It was there that they boarded ships for France. 2 companies boarded the boats, and the rest of the regiment boarded the Armageddon, which had formerly been the German liner Kaiser Wilhelm II. The regimental history of the 316th Infantry then described their sailing from Hoboken. The men specifically said, "The subway was filling with its evening rush crowd. The commuters were jamming the ferries to Jersey. The lights of Manhattan were barely awakening into the radiance. The thoughts of some millions of busy humans were turning once more to home, or flat or mansion, as the boats, with a hoarse blast of its siren, left its dock and floated down the river, past the crowded ferries, past the Figure of Liberty, out into the wide Atlantic. Behind lay the imposing skyline of New York, a mass of majestic goats in the twilight. Ahead, France and the western battlefront. The men of the 316th Infantry were among 268,117 American soldiers who left Hoboken for the war in France that July. Hoboken was one of the 2 major ports. 10 days later, the 316th Infantry Regiment and the 79th Division arrived in Brest, France. The regiment fought in the offensive, losing 136 of its members in battle and another 863 wounded or missing. Then, in the closing days of the war, the regiment attacked and captured the Born de Cornouailles. For pronunciation reasons, the American soldiers called it either Hill 378 or Corn Willie Hill. Hill 378 was fiercely defended by entrenched Germans using machine guns, artillery, and poison gas. Capturing Hill 378 cost the 316th Regiment 399 killed and another 1,637 wounded or missing. The war ended just 5 days later with an armistice on November 11, 1918. The 316th Infantry Regiment returned home to the United States the following year, arriving in Philadelphia 99 years ago tomorrow. 598 of the members were not among those returning that day, as they had been killed on the battlefields of eastern France. 251 of the regiment's members remain today in France, nearly all of whom are interred at the American Cemetery located in France. In 1917 and 1918, young men and women from all over our country left their homes by train and by ship to fight in World War I. Since the founding of our nation, young men and women have been leaving home on foot, on horseback, by train, by bus, by ship, by airplane to defend our nation wherever and whenever our nation has needed them. Nearly 1.2 million have not returned home. Today we remember those nearly 1.2 million men and women who have not returned home alive, especially those who left Brick Township. Today we honor their memory and their sacrifices, and we pledge to them again that they shall not be forgotten. May God bless them eternally, and may God preserve the freedoms which they sacrificed so much to defend. May God bless America as well. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak.
Please welcome Council President, Councilwoman Heather DeJohn.
Today, Memorial Day, we honor the ultimate sacrifice that any man or woman in uniform has made for our country. The sacrifice of our armed forces protecting our principles and beliefs has made America prosperous and a leader in the world. The very freedom we hold so dear is a direct result from those who made that ultimate sacrifice, along with their families, and our country will forever mourn the loss. Memorial Day began as Decoration Day to honor those who died in battle after the Civil War and adorn their graves with decorations. Today we look to Arlington Cemetery and the more than 220,000 American flags that American troops will place at the graves and wave over the grass as a reminder of the tremendous loss of life and the families of loved ones who will never return home. Here in Brick, we have 17 heroes who never returned to our town. These men and women fought for our freedoms in the Civil War, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Gulf Wars, and combat actions around the globe, and has given the country and our community their lives. They fought and died fighting for the very freedom we hold dear today. The sheer determination of our soldiers to defend and protect our American ideas is a lesson that could never be taught in classroom, but can be honored by living our best lives. Freedom is worth fighting for, and that is why America is still and will forever be the greatest country in the world. Peace and freedom is what all of our soldiers fight for. The price has been high and is a debt we can never repay. I would like to thank all the veterans here today for the courage to serve this great country, for protecting our American ideals from adversity. And to the soldiers who never came home, we thank them and their families for their ultimate sacrifice for freedom we hold dear. I leave you with a quote from Abraham Lincoln: "Honor to the soldier and sailor everywhere, who bravely bears his country's cause. Honor also to the citizen who cares for his brother in the field and serves as best he can the same cause." Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Councilwoman John. Now, Legionnaire Mike Witt will read our Flanders Field.
In Flanders Fields by John McCrae, May 1915. In Flanders Fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow. Loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep through poppies grow in Flanders fields. Inspiration was from Lieutenant Alexis Helmer, 1st Brigade, Canadian Field Artillery, killed in action. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to acknowledge any Gold Star family members in our audience. You will be in our thoughts and prayers forever. It is my pleasure to introduce a good friend, Commander John Kerwin of the Brick Township Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 8867. Commander?
Welcome to today's ceremony, and thank you for attending. I'm honored to be speaking with you today on such an important occasion. To all our veterans and honored Gold Star families who understand the price of freedom, welcome. As we observe Memorial Day, we do more than just carry on a tradition dating back to 1866. We also fulfill a commitment. Throughout history, those who have served and defended, those who have faced the greatest dangers and won the greatest battles, and those who die for our country receive the highest honors. Today, we honor our fallen. But we also embrace a feeling of honor, patriotism, and pride. From the patriots who fired the first shots of the American Revolution to the forces we have deployed around the world today, America has been blessed to have citizens who will fight, serve, and sometimes die for this country. It's not for money or medals that such people step forward. It is instead for patriotism, a love for this country and for the values on which it was founded: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. From the earliest days of America's founding, our great nation has been blessed with generation after generation of patriots willing to lay down their lives in the defense of our freedom and way of life. We are truly fortunate to live in a country worth fighting for, to be afforded the way of life worth dying for. Millions of men and women have selflessly answered the call of nations in need. Throughout our history, we've fought for a myriad of reasons: to gain independence, to maintain the Union, and to help free the world from tyranny, oppression, and evil. Today, we pay tribute to those heroic patriots who made the ultimate sacrifice, who bravely rose up and fought for something greater than themselves, protecting a home to which they never returned. We honor their service, we mourn their losses, and remember the families they left behind. In quiet stillness of this hallowed day, we must remember that there is no other nation on earth whose sacrifice has been greater than our own. None have given so much to afford freedom for others. The sacred ground at Arlington and our cemeteries in France, Belgium, Hawaii, the Philippines, and elsewhere remain somber testaments to the steep price of achieving and maintaining freedom around the globe. Each year, in cities, towns, and communities across our great land, thankful citizens set aside a small portion of this day to honor publicly the best and noblest of all, those who have selflessly laid down their life for freedom. This Memorial Day, with heavy hearts, we recall those lost. They had names, they had families. They were our brothers, our sisters, moms, dads, children. It is their ultimate sacrifice that has paid for the freedom we enjoy today. In an effort to repay a debt that can never truly be repaid, we must honor the legacy of our nation's fallen by educating all who believe Memorial Day is just another holiday, and pass our knowledge along to the next generation so that they may do the same. We must ensure the youth of tomorrow understand the true cost of freedom. There is no greater way to honor the memory of those who have secured it. Serving with dedication and valor, America's veterans deserve proper medical care, support, and compensation for their many sacrifices to this country. They deserve the opportunity for employment, education, and a home in which to live. Each of us here today must leave with renewed commitment to do all we can to help those who have done so much for us and ask for nothing in return. As we depart, we will undoubtedly continue to bear the burden of loss that comes with losing a family member, friend, one of our brothers or sisters in arms. But we may find comfort in knowing their lives were not lost in vain, and remain forever grateful to them for having given us the greatest gift on earth, freedom. Thank you.
Thank you, Commander John. Now it's a great honor to introduce my friend, Commander Skip Hermunson, American Legion, Post 348.
Thank you, Bruce. The following was composed by a retired Navy SEAL, and I thought it was poignant to read this here today. I am the fallen soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine. I am the one that held the line. Sometimes I volunteered, sometimes I went because I was told to go. But when the nation called, I answered. When the nation called, I answered. Remember me. In order to serve, I left behind the family, friends, and freedom that so many take for granted. Over time, I used different weapons: a sword, a musket, a bayonet, a rifle, a machine gun. Often I marched into battle on foot, countless miles, across whole continents. I had little water and even less food, but it did not matter. We had a job to do. Other times, I rode to battle on horseback, or in wagons, sometimes on trains. Later in tanks, jeeps, or even Humvees. In early wars, my ships were made of wood and powered by the wind. Later, they were made of steel and powered by diesel fuel or the atom. I even took to the air and mastered the sky in planes, helicopters, and jets. The machines of war evolved and changed with the times. But remember that it was always me, the warrior that had to fight our nation's enemies. I fought at Lexington and Concord as our nation was born. I crossed the Delaware on Christmas Day in 1776. Freedom was on our side. I defended the Chattahoochee River in the War of 1812, and I would stand again. In the Civil War, I fought with my brothers and against my brothers at Gettysburg, Shiloh, Bull Run. I learned that we must never again divide. In World War I, I marched on the Marne and held the line at Belleau Wood. The war to end all wars, they called it. I just called it hell. In World War II, we fought everywhere, from the beaches of Normandy and the Battle of the Bulge to the sands of Iwo Jima and the hell of Guadalcanal. I stood against tyranny and kept darkness from consuming the world. In Korea, I landed at Incheon and broke out of the Chosin Reservoir. They called it the Forgotten War, but I never forgot. In Vietnam, I went and fought in the Mekong Delta and at La Drang and Khe Sanh and Hamburger Hill. Some say my country wavered, but I did not waver, ever. In the recent past, I have fought in Grenada, Panama, Somalia, and desperate places around the globe. And finally, I have fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, in Baghdad, Fallujah, Ramadi, in Kunar, Helmand, and Kandahar. As technology advanced, I used night vision goggles and global positioning systems, and drones and lasers and thermal optics. But it was still me, a human being that did the work. It was me that patrolled up the mountains or across the desert or through the streets. It was me that suffered in the merciless heat and the bitter cold. It was me that went out night after night to confront our nation's enemies and confront evil face to face. It was me. Remember me. I was a warrior. But also remember that I was not only a warrior, I was not just a soldier, sailor, airman, or a Marine. Remember also that I was a son, a brother, a father. I was a daughter, a sister, a mother. I was a person like you, a real person with hopes and dreams for the future. I wanted to have children. I wanted to watch my children grow up. I wanted to see my son score a touchdown or shoot the winning basket. I wanted to walk my daughter down the aisle. I wanted to kiss my wife again. I wanted to grow old with her and be there to hold her hand when life grew hard. When I told her I would be with her until the end, I meant it. When I told my children I would always be there for them, I meant it. But I gave all that away. All of it. On that distant battlefield, on some godforsaken patch of dirt amongst the fear and the fire and the bullets. Or in a sky above enemy territory filled with flak. Or on the unforgiving sea where we fought against the enemy and against the depths of the abyss. There, in those awful places, I held the line. I did not waver, and I did not hesitate. I, the soldier, sailor, airman, a Marine. I stood my ground. I sacrificed my life, my future, my hopes, and my dreams. I sacrificed everything for you. This Memorial Day, remember me, the fallen warrior. And remember me not for my sake, but for yours. Remember what I sacrificed so you can truly appreciate the incredible treasures you have. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You have the joys of life, the joys that I gave up, so that you can relish in them. A cool wind in the air, gentle spring grass on your bare feet, the warm summer sun on your face, family, friends, and freedom. Never forget where it all came from. It came from sacrifice, the supreme sacrifice. Don't waste it. Don't waste any of your time on this earth. Live a life that honors the sacrifice of our fallen heroes. Remember them always and make every day Memorial Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Commander Skip. My guest speaker, good friend, former Army Drill Sergeant, William Duffy, comes soon.
To think it was just 6 months ago that I came here before the assembled on Veterans Day and requested on behalf of the veterans of Brick Township that we have a more permanent display of the Brick fallen heroes. Everything is positive on that front with the town council and Mayor Ducey. I've met with a committee of the council. We have a number of ideas to do, and there will be in Brick a more permanent display of the Brick fallen heroes in addition to the war memorial. Everything's been good with the town council and Mayor Ducey, and in the future that will happen, that will occur. We will have a more of a permanent display for the fallen heroes. We just had a great presentation at the Brick VFW this past Saturday celebrating the Brick fallen heroes. Good turnout. I was worried about turnout being the Memorial Day weekend, but it worked out great. During the research, in addition to the 12 names on the war memorial, during the research, 5 more Brick residents were found to be fallen heroes for a total of 17. The listing that you have today has a total of 16. When I sent this to the printer, we were only up to 16. After we went to the printer, I received information of a 17th one. And I conferred with Gene Donatello, and he was on Gene's list as a possible fallen hero from the Civil War. And I did some preliminary research, and in fact, he is a bona fide Brick resident, so now we have 17 Brick fallen heroes. Let's take a brief look at the Brick fallen heroes. Elmer Aaron, U.S. Army Corporal, Company E, 28th New Jersey Volunteer Regiment. Elmer died at the U.S. Army Douglas Hospital in Washington, D.C. on 8 February 1863 of wounds received in action at the Battle of Fredericksburg, Virginia, which took place from December 12th through 15th, 1862. This fallen hero was buried at the Methodist Protestant Cemetery East at the corners of Arnold Avenue and Highway 88 in Point Pleasant, New Jersey. Elmer resided on River Road, now Princeton Avenue, and later with his wife's family at 580 Herbertsville Road. When Elmer enrolled, his wife Mary Tilton was deceased. He was survived by his 2 daughters. Havens, Henry C., First Sergeant, U.S. Army, Company F, 14th New Jersey Volunteer Regiment. Havens was killed in action 9 July 1864 at the Battle of Monocacy, Maryland. This fallen hero was buried in a mass grave at the battlefield site with many other Union dead. His mother erected a memorial stone in the churchyard of the First Baptist Church of Laurelton on Route 88, Brick, New Jersey. Havens resided at the present-day intersection of Route 70 and Route 88. He was survived by his widowed mother and 2 brothers. Also the Civil War, Peter Layton, U.S. Army, Private, Company A, 14th New Jersey Volunteer Regiment. Layton died on 29 November 1863 from a bacterial infection at the Ward U.S. Army Hospital in Newark, New Jersey. This fallen hero was buried at the Old Woolly Cemetery, Gravely Graveyard, on Fairview Way, Brick, New Jersey. Layton resided in the Burrsville section, later called the Laurelton section. As of this time, it is unknown on survivors. World War I, Miller, Charles, U.S. Army, Private, Company D, 148th Infantry, 37th Infantry Division. This fallen hero was killed in action on 28 September 1918 during the Meuse-Argonne offensive in France. This final Allied offensive of the war stretched along the entire Western Front and eventually forced the Germans to surrender. This fallen hero was buried at the Osborneville Protestant Church, Manahawkin Road, Brick, New Jersey. Miller resided on Manahawkin Road across from the present-day Adamston Drive. He was survived by his parents and 2 brothers. World War II, Folsom, Robert H., U.S. Army, Staff Sergeant, 844th Engineer Aviation Battalion. Folsom died on 16 June 1945 from a kidney infection at Halloran General U.S. Army Hospital, Staten Island, New York. Folsom had served in Europe since 1943, was stricken in England, and brought back to the States for further treatment. This fallen hero is buried at the First Baptist Church of Laurelton on Route 88, Brick, New Jersey. Folsom resided on Parker Avenue. He was survived by his wife, parents, 2 sisters, and 1 brother. Vietnam, Crowder, Robert, U.S. Army, Staff Sergeant, Company D, 2nd Signal Group, 1st Signal Brigade. Crowder died on 20 May 1968 as a result of non-hostile action when he was in a motor vehicle accident while serving in Vietnam. This fallen hero is buried at St. Catherine's Cemetery, Seagirt, New Jersey. Crowder resided at 702 Cherry Lane. He was survived by his parents and an older brother. Deej Raymond, Specialist 4th Class, U.S. Army, 149th Maintenance Company, 62nd Maintenance Battalion. Deej died on 7 May 1970 as a result of non-hostile action when he was in a military vehicle on a military mission while serving in Vietnam. This fallen hero was buried at the Ocean County Memorial Park, Toms River, New Jersey. Deej resided at 28 Fairview Avenue. He was survived by his parents, 5 sisters, and 1 brother. Harger, Don R., U.S. Army, Warrant Officer, 1st Class, 18th Aviation Company, 223rd Aviation Battalion. Harger died on 17 August 1967 as a result of non-hostile action when he was a co-pilot of a military aircraft which departed on a mission and did not reach its destination while serving in Vietnam. This fallen hero was buried at the Maplewood Memorial Cemetery, Freehold, New Jersey. Harger resided at 119 Roosevelt Drive. He was survived by his wife and 2 sons. Lamberson, Carl, Jr., U.S. Army, 1st Lieutenant, E Company, 4th Battalion, 12th Infantry Regiment, 199th Infantry Brigade. Lamberson died on 2 July 1969 as a result of non-hostile action when, as a platoon leader, he was given a mission to rescue a helicopter crew that had crashed near a river while serving in Vietnam. This fallen hero was buried at the Greenwood Cemetery, Brielle, New Jersey. Lamberson resided at 5 Princeton Avenue. He was survived by his wife, parents, 3 brothers, and 3 sisters. Los Pinuso, James, U.S. Army, Staff Sergeant, E Company, 20th Infantry. Los Pinuso died on 10 January 1972 as a result of non-hostile action during his 2nd tour of duty while serving in Vietnam. This fallen hero is buried at the Arlington National Cemetery, Arlington, Virginia. As of this time, it is unknown on what street Los Pinuso resided. However, his son Jurgen does confirm that it was in fact Brick. He was survived by his wife, 2 children, parents, and 12 brothers and sisters. Marshall Donald, United States Marine Corps, Lance Corporal, H&S Company, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, 1st Marine Division. Marshall died on 8 September 1967 when he was killed in action by enemy hostile rifle fire while serving in Vietnam. This fallen hero is buried at St. Joseph's Catholic Cemetery, Toms River, New Jersey. Marshall resided at 5 Cross Trees Road. He was survived by his parents, 1 brother, and 1 sister. Nash James, United States Marine Corps, Private First Class, L Company, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, 1st Marine Division. Nash died on 24 July 1966 when he was killed in action engaging against enemy forces while serving in Vietnam. This fallen hero is buried at St. Catharines Cemetery, Seagirt, New Jersey. Nash resided at 701 Cherry Lane. He was survived by his parents and brother. Ram Cornelius, United States Marine Corps, Major, H&S Company, 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines, 1st Marine Division. Ram died on 10 January 1971 when he was killed in action while coming to the aid of fellow Marines who were engaged against enemy forces while serving in Vietnam. This fallen hero is buried at the Ocean County Memorial Park, Toms River, New Jersey. Ram resided at 191 Cartagena Drive. He was survived by his wife and 6 children. Jan Thomas, U.S. Army, Private First Class, Headquarters Company, 1st Battalion, 327th Infantry, 101st Airborne Division, the Screaming Eagles. Jan died on 8 June 1966 when he was killed in action while engaged against enemy forces in hostile ground action while serving in Vietnam. This fallen hero is buried at the First Baptist Church of Royalton on Route 88 in Brick, New Jersey. Jan resided at 535 Barber Avenue. He was survived by his parents, 3 brothers, and 2 sisters. Number 16, Operation Iraqi Freedom. Duffy Christopher, Army National Guard, Specialist, 3rd Battalion, 112th Field Artillery. Duffy died on 4 June 2004 when he was killed in action by insurgents who were attacking his convoy using improvised explosive devices and rocket-propelled grenades while serving in Iraq. This fallen hero is buried at the Ocean County Memorial Park, Toms River, New Jersey. Duffy resided at 966 Linden Avenue and Brick Boulevard. He was survived by his wife, son, father, and sister. Heroes, every one of them.
Thanks, Doug. Now I'd like to give recognition to the organizations that place wreaths around the Township Memorial. Laurelton Fire Company, number 1. Herbertsville Fire Company, number 1. Laurelton Ladies Auxiliary. Brick Elks Lodge, 2151. American Legion Auxiliary Unit, Legion Riders, SAL, and Post 348. Pioneer Hose Ladies Auxiliary. Brick Mayor and Council. VFW Post 8867. VFW Auxiliary Post 8867. Boy Scout Troop 33. Knights of Columbus 4th Degree Assembly 0685. Knights of Columbus Council 836. Bretton Woods Fire Company. Thank you all very much. Miss Wendy Gordy will now sing America the Beautiful. Wendy?
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesties above the fruited plains. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for patriots dream that sees beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, yes. God bless all our veterans, and God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.
Order. This concludes the Memorial Day service. Everyone is invited to attend brief services at the American Legion Post 348 on Manahawkin Road, followed by a service at the VFW Post 8867 on Adamston Road. Thank you all for coming. God bless America.